I would recommend just going for it. Honestly, if you have an idea, if you know it already, just try it out, even just like a pilot.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be perfect for you to get it out there. But be very careful at the same time, especially if you're working with communities, because working with communities requires a lot of dedication and patience and relationship building, which if you're not serious about this is hard to start, because then you will probably leave the community alone again, and they've been left alone by so many other people before. So it's hard to build that trust.
Yep.
You are listening to In Good Company, a podcast that explores the lives, businesses, careers, and advocacies of people who want to create positive impact in the world.
If you're someone who's looking for inspiration, positive stories, how-tos, and opportunities to start a business or pursue a career with meaning and purpose, this podcast is for you.
And we won't just be talking about the good and inspiring stuff.
We'll be talking about the real stuff, which means that we'll get into the gritty, grimy, and yes, juicy details about trying to do good in a world where doing good is still a bit of an afterthought.
This podcast is designed to share inspiring stories, but at the same time encourage anyone. But while doing good in a big way is challenging, it is possible, and there are concrete and actionable steps to do so.
So, if you want to do good, you're in good company.
I'm Reese Fernandez-Ruiz, co-founder and president of Rags2Riches.
And I'm Tom Graham, author of the book The Genius of the Poor and co-founder of the social tourism enterprise Make a Difference Travel.
And
this is In Good Company. So, you'd love to start a social enterprise one day, but you really don't know where to start. Who do you partner with? How do you know if your idea will work? And if things do go well, how do you then try to scale things up? Now, Reese is normally my co-host for this podcast, but today I'll be putting the questions to her because she's had to face up to all kinds of challenges in building her own social enterprise, Rags2Riches. In case you're not familiar, Rags2Riches partners with artisans across the country to create super trendy and yet also environmentally and socially responsible fashion items from recycled and overstock cloth and indigenous fabrics. I, for one, find Reese's journey as a social entrepreneur to be a really inspiring one. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode as much as I did. Hi Reese, great to have you on the show, my co-host, but today my interviewee. How are you doing?
Hi Tom, it's so good to be an interviewee this time.
All right, so anyway, let's crack straight into it. So you grew up doing a lot of humanitarian work, you were a volunteer for Gawad Kalinga, and then you studied management at Ateneo, is that right?
Yes.
So I was just wondering, you grew up in the world of charity to an extent, but you also grew up, I guess, with this idea of getting involved in business, and that's why you studied management. When was that moment when you realized that you could somehow merge those two things?
You know, it's funny, Tom. I spent like an inordinate amount of time just thinking about that moment, and I wish there was a particular moment, like I was riding public transportation and suddenly there's this aha moment. But I think it's a lot of things, you know, when you grow up in an environment that is very charitable. I used to do a lot of volunteer work when I was a lot younger, like 4 years old. I'm going around different churches and volunteering there. And then at the same time, getting the opportunities that I got. I think all of these different things just put the puzzle pieces together. And eventually I realized what it is. But it wasn't like one moment. Like honestly, I wish there was, because it will make for a better movie, but it didn't, so it's not a very good movie. But I think when I was in college and I was going to volunteer work in Gawad Kalinga, I was one of the few people. Eventually we grew into a big group that would go to Gabaldon, Nueva Ecija to build houses for the survivors of a calamity there. And it was really a good experience, but I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I think when I was starting, I didn't know what my motivations are. It wasn't like I want to be of service to the world. I really want to do something good. I was a little confused and very indebted. I felt that I must give something back because so much has been given to me. But it doesn't mean immediately that, you know, I wanted to put something good into the world, that I want to be altruistic. In fact, I think if I were to be super honest with myself, in the beginning, there were moments when I just really wanted to look like a good person.
Right.
Yeah, I would be mortified if I said this like 10 years ago, but I think now I'm a bit older, more secure with my feelings and with the journey of getting to where I am now. But I can admit that, yeah, in the beginning it was about ego. In the beginning it was a little bit about wanting to look good. But after a while, when you get to know people who inspire you, who are hopeful, who fight with you as equals, who have been through so much and don't have a lot but give so much of themselves, it just makes you a different person. Eventually, they don't just become your trophies. They become your friends and your family and community. So I think when I got to know these people, and it was a long process to get there.
When you're saying these people, are these volunteers or were they people from the community, or who were these people that were, I guess, inspiring you?
It's, I guess, all of them, but if I were to choose the people who inspired me the most, especially in the beginning, it was really the communities.
Right.
The first few communities that I ever encountered outside of school, the Gawad Kalinga communities, who give so much of themselves even if they don't have enough for themselves. And that astonished me, and eventually I got to know them as people, not as numbers, not as...
Did you see their potential as people, or was it more driven when you started Rags2Riches? Was it more just out of compassion to help, or did you really see, wow, these people can be great, let's give them an opportunity?
I think it was both. I saw them as friends, and you want to help friends. When you get to know people as people and not as people you help, like as a person who's higher than everyone else, I think when you get to know communities very deeply, take out a lot of your own misconceptions and own entitlement, and then say, you know what, we can work together. And you have so much potential, because I also have so much potential and I also haven't fulfilled it. And maybe like together we can do something great. So it was a whole process, but it was in all ways surprising and scary at the same time, and inspiring.
Awesome. I am one of the worst people for fashion, right? I've got no idea. I don't really know.
Tell. I really couldn't tell.
I think you're joking. Anyway, but even I would look at Rags2Riches, your bags, and be like, "Wow, these look great!" And they're a pretty safe purchase. I've brought them for my sister.
Oh, that's awesome!
And I'm pretty confident that my she would like them. May even get one for my girlfriend someday.
Nice.
I know she's hoping for one.
Nice. I will talk to her later.
I'm
kidding now. Okay.
But, so you make these beautiful bags, right?
Thank
Which
you.
even someone who's completely fashion illiterate like me can recognize. But how did you get there? And how do you go from the name of the company is Rags2Riches, and somebody would visit one of your shops in Rockwell, see these beautiful bags, and really, how does that happen? How did you get the inspiration to start Rags2Riches, and how were you able to turn rags into these beautiful bags and accessories that you see today?
Thank you. So actually, it started about 10 years ago. I couldn't believe that Rags2Riches is almost 10 years old. It feels like it was just yesterday, and at the same time, it feels like 100 years ago. It started because when we were going to communities, so I was doing volunteer work for Gawad Kalinga and a lot of other organizations. I went there for a class in Payatas. So Payatas is a community in Metro Manila. So lots of people there are in poverty, but very resourceful. They really found ways to lift themselves and their families out of poverty, or to find opportunities for them. So I, together with a group of co-founders, went there and saw that a lot of women were weaving foot rugs out of fabric. And because they didn't have straight access to the market, or straight access to the fabric that they were using to create these foot rugs, they weren't earning as much. In fact, it wasn't just not earning as much, it's earning a pittance. They were earning about 10 to 16 pesos a day. A day? I know, a day.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think R2R
What does that buy you? Just
oh my god.
Rice, right?
Not even. I don't know. I honestly don't know, because I couldn't buy anything with that. I mean, it's even hard to get to one place with that money. And it was so unfair, because they were working so hard. They have amazing dreams. They wanted so badly to improve their lives. But because of the lack of opportunities, they're not able to do so. And when I look at them and I talk to them, they're talented, hopeful, inspiring. And it just doesn't add up that people who are hopeful, talented, and inspiring and hardworking will not benefit from their hard work. So together with a group of co-founders, which are friends that I met through Rags2Riches while we were building it together, including, by the way, my husband.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's for another podcast
That's
episode.
special
called,
love edition.
Yeah, the special
Coming
love
soon.
edition. Yeah. How you can find love in a hopeless place. We have the title. Okay.
Moving on.
Moving on. So we all met each other. We saw the same social problem. We were very, very mad about it. Just
Okay.
a little plug. We were very dissatisfied with how other people are treated, and we thought we should do something about this. So we said we should work together with these artisans. We call them artisans because they work with their hands. They're amazing. They work with products that are almost like masterpieces, and honestly, they're art pieces. They are made by individuals with different backstories. And so we formed Rags2Riches together. We were not from the fashion industry at all, so we decided to look for somebody who is and get his help. So the top of mind during that time, and I think for me all time, is Rajo Laurel.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the top fashion designers in the Philippines,
Yeah.
and it was a mixture of a lot of asking people who know someone and cold calls. So we eventually got a meeting with him.
So you had no direct line to
No, not for me,
Rajo
no.
himself.
No.
Okay, you had to hustle.
Yeah, had to hustle to get there and not be afraid of being rejected because
Right.
you wouldn't know unless you try, right?
Yep.
So we tried it and he was very excited. He had such a kind heart. We never would have known that if we were not brave enough to make the move.
What got him excited, do you think? Is there someone else listening who's like,
Yeah.
wow, I've got this idea, but I really need some help. And,
Yeah.
and you know, he obviously added so much value to
Oh,
your business
so
in the early
much.
days. How did you manage to get him excited by your dream? Because it was just a dream at the time, right?
Yeah. Well, we were already working with the artisans making better looking foot rugs during that
Okay.
time. So there was a little bit of a sample of the rugs that we were
Uh-huh.
making that's a little bit nicer. And we thought that he could make the rugs even nicer rugs.
Got
Yeah.
it.
So we talked to him and he had other ideas. He's a designer, a creative, an artist. So he said, guys, this is not a rug. In fact, he rolled it, placed 3 imaginary buttons, and he said, this is a wine holder. Ta-da! So suddenly, what we know of as a rug for all our lives is a wine holder. So suddenly, it's a wine holder, it's a vanity kit, it's a shoulder bag. And before I worked in Rags2Riches, I knew nothing about fashion. Like, I couldn't distinguish one bag from another. So it was so hard for me. But just
Tell me about it.
yeah, it's okay. You will learn along the way
Right.
of hosting this podcast with me. So I think along the way, I learned the value of good design and I learned the value of fashion. And I also learned how fashion could be either a great positive force or a negative force in the world because of just so much waste that we
Yep.
are churning out as an industry. But at the same time, what if we design fashionable pieces that speak to people, that represent people in a way that empowers others? So I thought fashion is a good way to go about this, but didn't know that until we really got to work with Rajo Laurel. And so we worked with him, several other designers, created different kinds of products and bags and home accessories. And so today we're a fashion and design house empowering community artisans. I am so happy that you give Rags2Riches to your family. I'm very happy about that. And I am super proud of our products now, but before it was really rough around the edges. People were still getting used to it. Our artisans were still learning the skills and really getting better at it. So we started out kind of rough. It wasn't like we knew what we were doing from the onset. It wasn't like we had a whole factory to do the products into what they are now. So it took a while to get there. So hearing that from you and knowing that your family's happy with it, I still get a kick out of that.
Amazing. And of course, on the other side of the world, my family's back in the UK.
Yeah.
So, would you recommend starting as a group of friends like you did, or think it's better to go alone? Because I know nowadays you're really the lead entrepreneur, if you like, in Rags2Riches. But when you started out, it was really a collaborative effort. Would you recommend to people that they want to do something, they want to do good, maybe they even want to start a social enterprise? Would you suggest, okay, wait first, see who else you can partner with to get your idea off the ground?
I would recommend just going for it. Honestly, if you have an idea, if you know it already, just try it out, even just like a pilot.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be perfect for you to get it out there. But be very careful at the same time, especially if you're working with communities, because working with communities requires a lot of dedication and patience and relationship building, which, if you're not serious about this, is hard to start, because then you will probably leave the community alone again, and they've been left alone by so many other people before. So it's hard to build that trust.
Yep.
So I think it's a mixture. You could start on your own, start small, work with probably a little bit more established communities, because there are a lot, and at least like if you don't make it, they are not super affected, like they're not 100% relying on
Right.
you. And then when you get your act together, you could bring in more people if necessary, and then expand to more communities that need more help.
I saw a documentary a few weeks ago now on Netflix called The True Cost.
Yeah.
And have you seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it got me pretty depressed about the fashion
Yes.
industry at large, and
Yeah.
of course the mass production of these garments, which are then thrown away, having been worn just a few times,
Yeah.
etc. Now, I think you've already answered the question as to how Rags2Riches is different to some of your more sort of traditional or bigger players in the fashion industry. But let's look at this from another perspective. We're not only talking to possible entrepreneurs here,
Yeah.
but what about the consumers?
Yeah.
Because as consumers, we have the power or the potential to make a difference with every
Yeah.
single purchase that we make. I would say one of the the leading voices in the sustainable fashion industry here in the Philippines. What advice would you have for consumers out there who they love fashion?
Yeah.
They love buying stuff. It makes them feel happy. They love to give joy to others. But at the same time, they'll watch something like The True Cost, or they'll read an article about the damage which the fashion industry is doing to our planet, and they
Yeah.
don't want to contribute towards. What advice would you give?
You know, it's hard because we sell products. I mean, I know that our practices are better. We worked so hard to make Rags2Riches designed around our artisans, but at the same time, our business is still selling products, So at the end of the day, when we sell more, we are able to support more artisans, we're able to empower more artisans. So it's very tricky for us, to be honest. But I would say, this is maybe counterintuitive from just buying more. Look at the things that you're going to buy and make sure that they matter. Because sometimes you buy them based on your style, based on your look, based on the trends.
Yeah.
But what if you base it on a completely different criteria? What if you base it on the positive impact that it does? What if you base it on how it matches 50 of your clothes? Hopefully you don't have that many clothes, but I doubt it. You probably do.
Yeah.
But it will match everything you own, so that your purchase of one product can actually be used like over and over again. There's like a higher ROI for that product, and you don't have to buy for every single outfit you have. So it's really just being conscious, because it's hard to say don't buy at all, because let's face it, people will always buy. There's such a thing as a retail therapy. People kind of feel good when they buy something. So why not feel good and do good when buying something? It's a little harder because sometimes you buy out of a knee-jerk reaction, like, oh, I like this, nice color. But what if you think like 5 questions before buying it? Like, I have this personal guide, like 5 questions before I buy something.
What are those 5 questions?
Yeah, so 5 questions. One is if it matches at least 10 things that I already have.
Right.
So, but I don't have to buy for each and every one.
Okay. I'm taking notes here, by the way.
Yeah, you are. If it's of high quality, so that I don't have to throw it immediately.
Yep.
If I could give it to my kids in the future.
Yep.
If it's ethically created, is also very important. How I'm going to dispose of it in the future, I also think about. And I think the 5th one is actually my first one, because that's a little bit more shallow, is if it's my color palette. Yes, I have a color palette for like my whole wardrobe, so that it matches everything, and I don't think about what to wear in the morning. That wastes a lot of time.
The 5-way test. You started off very, very small, and I guess when you're just helping a few artisans, it's really easy to get to know those artisans really well and to work alongside them and to really build the beginnings of an enterprise according to the values you and your partners held dear. You've got bigger since then. You're in a number of malls here in Manila. You can even get some of your products abroad. Have you been tempted, and have you indeed at any point compromised on your values as you've grown and
Yeah.
maybe you've learned and you've been like, you know what, that was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
And that's not in line with what we're about as a company. Have you ever fallen into that trap, or at least been tempted to do so?
The temptation is always there.
Right.
I think when you say that you're not tempted at all to compromise values, you're not thinking hard enough. So
Yeah.
it's there are so many like shortcuts that you could explore, and you can justify it. You can say, oh, but I could do more good if I do this. And sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. There are lots of temptations because what we're doing is hard. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I think the biggest lie that I've ever said in R2R is that every Monday morning is great. I used to say that. I want to like go back in time and kick myself because that's really not true. I mean, there will be Mondays when it's so hard to get out of bed.
Right.
It's just so hard to work because what we're doing is, if you really think about it, working with artisans from different communities. Most of them are home-based, and we provided like the whole system with the artisans. By the way, we built it together to create a system that they can work from home while fulfilling their deliveries and the quality standards that are required by the market, and then linking them to the market, and then thinking of new product designs that are centered around what the artisans can do and not around what the trends are.
Right.
So you have to marry all of these different worlds together. And it's super handmade, but a lot of people might still expect, oh, it's handmade, it should be cheaper, which doesn't make sense at all. But, you know, people want value for their money. So you have to not just say that you're handmade, and because our price points are quite high. It's not luxury price points, but they're quite high for good reason because they're all handmade. But of course, some people will be like, it can't just be that. And I agree, it can't just be that. You're doing something good, but that can't be the only justification for your price. You have to have a good design,
the
have
means
great
don't
quality.
the end doesn't necessarily justify all of the means all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So we had to balance all of these in the fashion world that is fast changing, very demanding, super difficult. That's why the temptation's always there. But sometimes you also have to take a step back and say, is this really my value? Or is it not? Is it something that I'm trying to grasp on because I'm being super careful? Because there's also that difference. So in the end, it's always a judgment call. So I don't think we've compromised values in R2R. In fact, I think we've stuck by it so much. And in fact, there are some things that we're not compromising values, but we just didn't want to do just because, I know, it doesn't feel right.
So when you arrived a short while ago to record this podcast, you muttered something like, oh, if I had known when I was starting my social, if I had known what I'd go through, if I'd known that 10 years ago, then would I? And then your voice trailed off, and I didn't really hear you finish that sentence.
Yeah.
So
forgot the word.
No regrets
No.
in starting Rags2Riches. Okay, so there's a lot of challenges. You touched upon some of them, and they're very specific to being a social enterprise. I think. But provided you don't have any regrets, please confirm that you don't. If that's the case, what are some of the upsides of being a social entrepreneur? What is it which does get you out of bed most of the time on a Monday morning in reasonably good mood?
Yeah, so there are lots of perks. I am not even going to downplay them, especially when we were starting, because everything that's starting for a good cause will be like the darling of the moment, you know, the flavor of the month. So we experienced a lot of that for a long time. Now it's been more stable. It's time to prove what we're really made of without all the hype. So
it's not a novelty.
No, it's not novelty anymore. But there's like the path between novelty and legacy. And we're kind of long way from the legacy part, but really out of the novelty part. Right? So there are lots, because people are always looking to do something good. Like people who are listening to this podcast probably listen to it because it's in good company and talking about social enterprise, how you could do good while working full-time on something. So there are lots. When people find out that we are doing good, we are working with communities, they want to get involved. And even if, you know, they're celebrities that will probably get like millions of pesos from just endorsing or taking photos with us, they wouldn't like ask anything. They just want us to succeed.
Wow.
And that is so sweet, right?
There's a massive value to that as well, isn't there?
Yeah, there really is. I mean, with all the hard work that you have to do and all the sleepless nights, there are these people who want to be with you in this journey and really help you out, like get the break that you deserve or the break that the artisans deserve. So it's good. But what really gets me up in the morning, and sometimes it's really hard, especially now that I have a baby. So I really just want to stay at home with him most of the time.
Hashtag Favorito Guapito.
His hashtag is Miguelito Guapito Burrito.
Okay, I've seen him online.
I know.
Super cute.
Yeah, he is. What still wakes me up in the morning and still wants me to push through with it is that belief in the why. Why I started to begin with. I started because I believe in providing people opportunities. That when they have opportunities to be the best of themselves, it could only be good for the world and for the future. So it's no longer about feeling happy about what I do. It's no longer about I am such a good person. Look at me. This is my trophy. It's not about feeling good about doing good. It's about a deeper belief that even if you don't anymore feel good about it, even if there are times when you doubt yourself, you will go back to that why and hold on. Yeah. You show up even if you don't feel like it.
Amazing. Okay, just a couple more questions. First of all, is there any way in which our listeners can get involved in Rags2Riches or support you guys or find out more about it beyond, of course, just buying the products?
Yeah, definitely. But buying the products, I wouldn't stop you from doing that. Do that too. Yeah, definitely. And by the way, this is probably a good time as any to announce that we are launching a platform in Rags2Riches for a lot of other social enterprises.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, surprise! Ooh. Yeah, you really didn't know that until we're recording this right now. So I like the genuine surprise you have on your face. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So we are launching Things That Matter. I know, right?
Wow! All right.
I know, right? We're like,
that's cool.
So when I saw your tagline, I'm like, this is so amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
because we've actually got some communities that are producing some great.
So yeah, we are launching Things That Matter. .ph online, and also we're converting some of our stores to be a platform for most social enterprises or local brands with a cause or brands with advocacy. It'll be curated, but at the same time we want to work with aspiring social entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs who will stock or not in our stores to have maybe quarterly gatherings so that we can talk about our challenges, how we can improve, cautionary tales, and Rags2Riches as an organization could also share our experiences to them. So it will be like workshops / networking for other social enterprises. So people can get involved in that if they have dreams of becoming social entrepreneurs but don't know yet where to start. They could join those. Of course, buy the products, which I think I said a while ago already, but doesn't get old. Yeah. And we're also looking for interns most of the time for content development, production, product development, so they can just get in touch with us. Our email address is yourfriends@rags2riches.ph because we are really your friends at rags2riches.ph. Tell us why you want to be an intern, what you want to contribute, what you want to learn. There are so many different things, different ways of how to get involved, and we're always happy about people wanting to get involved in art-to-art.
All right, and then final question. Hopefully some of our listeners have listened to your story, they're familiar with the journey of Rags2Riches, and they're really inspired, and they'd love to emulate you guys, maybe in the same industry, maybe in a different one. What would you say from your experience, what is the most common limiting belief which is holding that person back from actually taking the plunge and starting something? What do people often think? I could never do anything like what Reese has done because of X or Y. What is that advice would you have to someone who has that?
I think there are so many common limiting beliefs when it comes to starting something at all, not just a social enterprise. Yeah. For starting a social enterprise, some people think it has to be perfect. It has to be 100% perfect before you put something out there. When you go to a community, for example, they're in fashion as well or in manufacturing, they go to a community and see that the community is not yet there. They can't yet provide products that are globally competitive, that have great quality, and they're like, never mind, this is not gonna work. But everyone starts there. Everyone starts somewhere. You have to see the first website of Rags2Riches. It is super green, like medicine green.
Oh my god.
And it has
Is that your idea?
I don't remember. I will neither confirm nor deny it. Yeah, I deny it. No. So it's not nice. Basically, but we started anyway.
Yeah.
We put out something out there that we were proud of during that time, but eventually we were ashamed of. But the important thing is we still did it, and then you can see the progress from there.
Yeah.
Because I think the most inspiring things come from progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
You know, if something's already perfect, it's not very inspiring.
Yeah.
So in a sense, we're super rags to riches too, because we started with that website, and now
And you caught Rajo
better
Laurel's
one.
eye, not because it was a perfect product, right? Because it was
yeah,
still a,
and not because
a
he
rug
saw
at
the
time.
website. He didn't see the website. Super happy about
Good
that.
job.
Yeah, but not because it's perfect, but because of the seed of an idea and the potential of the whole thing. Be patient with the whole process. If you really want to do this, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Is there a men's collection on the way for Rags2Riches?
There is.
Okay, what product
Yeah.
would you suggest for me?
I suggest all of them because I'm naturally a salesperson. I think you should have them all. No, I'm kidding. So go to a website, and it depends on the lifestyle that you are currently practicing.
Got it. All right.
So if you're officey, but
Yeah.
you ditch the suit and tie.
Yeah.
So maybe
yeah.
something more travel-y.
Okay.
Yeah, like our Dan backpack will be probably nice for you.
All right,
Yeah.
I'll check it out
It's
later.
gonna work out. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, thanks, Reese.
Thanks, Tom.
All right. Thanks for listening. You spent a good few minutes of your life listening to us, and we would love to hear from you too. We're always looking for inspiring stories of people who are doing good from wherever they are. So we'd love it if you could share these stories with us. Send us a message through Facebook or Instagram. You can find us by searching for In Good Company Podcast on Facebook or at In Good Company PH on Instagram. This podcast is brought to you by Mad Travel, Rags2Riches, and Things That Matter. Hosted by me, Tom Graham, and Reese Fernandez-Ruiz. This podcast is edited by our awesome intern Alemi Pagulayan, with research and marketing done by Romano Santos. And let's not forget the music, which comes from Kevin McLeod. And finally, this podcast would not be possible without you, our listeners and advocates. We really are in good company with you. Until next time.